Hi, and welcome to Wednesday Art with Mrs. Bess. Today we are going to be making a sunset and painting. Let's get started. Okay, so for this project you are going to need some white paper, your paint, some water. You can see mine's dirty, but it'll still work, and a black crayon. Okay, you can put your water in a cup or a bowl, doesn't matter. Okay, so we're going to start with making our lines with crayon. We're going to draw our picture with crayon, and then we're going to paint. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our hand here. This is where our sun's going to be. So our mountains are going to start down here. So I want to make a wiggly line for mountains. Okay? So leave a space. You can turn your paper. Make a wiggly line. Okay? Now we're going to make the sun. So a big half circle. And some lines. The rays of the sun are shooting up. Okay. Now we're going to come down here. I'm going to make my hand space again. This time I'm going to make a straight line. This is where the meadow is going to be. Okay, so I want to leave a space though. Spacing it apart. Okay, now I'm going to make some birds. And whatever you draw, you need to have an odd number. Remember, 1 bird or 3 birds or 5 birds, not an even number. When you're doing art, you always have an odd number of things. So I'm going to do 3 birds. And the smaller they are, the farther away they're going to look. Okay. So those are my birds. Okay, so I have some birds, and I have my mountains, and down here is my meadow, and in my meadow I have some grass growing. So I'm going to make, kind of like when we do our seaweed in the ocean pictures, it's a V with a line in the middle, okay? Just some grass growing. A V, line in the middle, but I have to have an odd number. So I can't have 2. A V and a line. And again, the smaller they are, they'll look farther away. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 1 more. Make a little tiny one. Okay. So there's my grass. So I'm ready to start painting. I have my meadow, my mountains, my sun. It can be a rising sun or a setting sun, and I have some birds. The most important thing, remember, when we are painting with watercolors is we need to use a lot of water. You don't want it to be dry because the colors need to mix. Okay? And for them to mix, they have to be wet. So we want them to have a lot of water in it. Okay, so I'm going to start with my sun. We're going to use 2 colors, orange and yellow. So I'm going to make my puddle in my orange, and then I'm going to change to yellow while everything is still wet so the colors blend together. Okay, so I'm going to get my brush wet, put it in my paint, get my brush wet, put it in my paint. I keep doing this till I have a nice puddle of orange. Okay. And I'm going to use my paintbrush like I do when we are coloring our clouds and calendar. I'm going to turn our brush sideways and just go across. Okay, dip, paint. Dip, paint. Dip, paint. Dip, paint. If it's too dry, you can just use water. Look, I have enough. I can just spread it with some water. I don't have to get more orange every time. But I want it to stay wet. Okay, now I'm going to quickly go to yellow, make a puddle. Okay, put it in. Now it's going to blend together. Some water. Water, paint. paint. Water paint. Water paint. Okay. Don't pick up your painting to show anybody. It has to dry because it will run all over the place. Okay, so there's my sun. Now I'm going to work on my sky. So I'm going to do the same thing, making a puddle in my blue. But I'm going to turn, if you want to turn your paper so it's easier to get to, that's fine. Puddle, I need a puddle of blue. Keep getting water. It still works even with my dirty water. I still get a beautiful shade of blue. Okay, I'm going to use the side of my brush and I can go right over the top of my sun rays and my birds. Keep getting water. It needs to be very wet. Lots of water. I'm going to turn it to the other side. Keep getting water. Use the side of your brush like you're shading with the pencil. Just like you're making clouds, coloring in your clouds. Okay. There we go. Got my blue all colored in. It's okay if you get a little bit on the orange or where the cloud mountains are gonna go. It's okay. All right, our next thing we're going to do is the mountains, and we're gonna need to get a little bit of black on our brown as we're painting, okay? So we're gonna have to make 2 puddles this time. I'm gonna get my black ready, make a puddle in my black, and then I'm gonna make a puddle in my brown. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to get a wet brush. I'm gonna go black, brown, and paint. Black, brown, paint. I'm only gonna do this at the top here. I want it to be a little bit darker at the top. Along the top, black, brown. Some more water, black, brown. Okay, once you get a little bit of black, brown, now we're gonna go just brown, no more black, just brown. Just brown. Water brown. Water brown. Water brown. Water brown. Water brown. Side of my brush, just like I'm shading with my pencil. Water brown. Water brown. Water brown. Water brown. Water brown. Always get water. Water brown. Water brown. Water brown. And we're going the same way on the whole thing. I'm not going up and down, sideways. We're always going back and forth, back and forth. Same direction. Okay, same direction. Don't go up and down. One direction. Okay. See, now our mountains have some dark on top. It makes them look nice. All right, so now we're going to go to the green. So again, I'm turning my paper because I'm going back and forth. Don't have to paint with it straight on. Turn it sideways a lot if you want, or just a little bit. But for my green, I need to make a puddle again. Puddle, 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 puddle. Make a nice puddle there. Okay. Again, back and forth like I'm shading. Water, paint. 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 Back and forth with my brush. Water, paint. Always going the same direction. Water, paint. Water, paint. Water, paint. Okay. And put some on this black line here. Water, paint. Okay. There's our sunrise or sunset, whatever you want to call it. When your painting is dry, you need to sign your masterpiece with your name. So you can take a pencil or a pen, and on the very bottom, you write your name. So I'm going to write Cindy Bess. And I have my signed painting. Have fun, and I'll see you next time with Painting with Mrs. Bess, or Art with Mrs. Bess.